Hello everyone, I got 5 jokes for you today. A penguin, taking a much-needed vacation, finds himself driving his car through the sweltering heat of Arizona. As he's cruising along, he suddenly notices that the oil pressure light is on. Concerned, he pulls over and gets out of the car, only to see oil dripping from the engine. He knows he needs to get this checked out, so he drives to the nearest town and stops at the first available gas station. The mechanic takes a quick look at the penguin's car and tells him it could take an hour or 2 to figure out what's wrong with it. In the meantime, the penguin decides to explore the town and pass the time. As he's walking around in the hot Arizona sun, he spots an ice cream shop. The penguin, feeling the heat, thinks that a cold treat would be the perfect way to cool off. He waddles into the shop and orders a big dish of ice cream, excited for a little relief from the heat. However, being a penguin with no hands, he struggles to eat the ice cream using his flippers. Feeling somewhat refreshed, the penguin heads back to the gas station to check on the progress of his car. When he arrives, he asks the mechanic if he's discovered the problem. The mechanic, looking up from under the hood, says, "It looks like you blew a seal." The penguin quickly responds, No, it's just ice cream." A farmer had 3 sons. They were all growing up fast, and each had their own dreams and desires. One day, the oldest son came to his father and said, "Dad, I'm graduating from high school soon, and I would really love to have a car to drive." His father thought for a moment and said, "Son, come with me." He took him to the barn, pointed to the tractor, and explained, "This tractor is essential for our farm. I promise, as soon as it's paid off, we'll get you a car." The oldest boy wasn't thrilled, but he understood the importance of the tractor and accepted his father's promise. A week later, the farmer's second son approached him with a request for a new bicycle. "Dad, I've been saving up, but I still need some help to get that bike I like." "Well," the father replied, "once the tractor is paid off, we can see about getting you that bike." The second son was a bit disappointed, but he too understood the importance of the tractor. Not long after, the youngest son started pestering his father for a tricycle. He had seen one at a friend's house and desperately wanted one of his own. Again, the father explained that the tractor had to be paid off before any new purchases could be made. Feeling a little annoyed, the youngest son walked out of the barn and spotted the farm rooster mating with one of the hens. He marched over and kicked the rooster off the hen's back, mumbling to himself. His father, who had followed him outside, asked, "Son, why on earth would you do that? The rooster didn't deserve that." The youngest son looked up at his father, his expression serious, and replied, "Well, nobody around here gets to ride anything until that darn tractor is paid off." A nurse asks a patient to remove his clothing and put on a gown before getting examined by the doctor. "In front of you?" he asked shyly, clearly feeling uncomfortable with the idea. The nurse reassured him, saying, "Don't worry, I've seen plenty of naked bodies before. It's part of my job." The patient hesitated and replied, "But not one like mine. You'd die laughing at my naked body." "Of course I won't laugh," said the nurse, trying to put the patient at ease. "I'm a professional. In over 20 years, I've never laughed at a patient's body." Feeling a bit more reassured, the patient slowly started to undress. First, he unbuttoned his shirt, took off his pants, and with a deep sigh, hesitantly pulled down his underwear. Standing in front of the nurse was a massive man with the smallest male organ that the nurse had ever seen in her life. It was almost identical to an AAA battery in length and width. Despite her best efforts, the nurse couldn't help but let out a giggle. She immediately felt terrible for laughing at the patient's private parts and tried to compose herself as quickly as possible. "I am so sorry," the nurse apologized, her face turning red with embarrassment. "I don't know what came over me. On my honor as a nurse, I promise that it won't happen again." Regaining her composure, she asked the patient, "Now, can you please tell me what seems to be the problem?" The patient replied, "It's swollen." One day, a nun found herself in a part of town she rarely visited and badly needed to use the restroom. As she looked around, she spotted a local Hooters and hesitantly decided to go in. Upon entering, she found the place bustling with music, laughter, and loud conversation. Every once in a while, the lights would suddenly turn off, and each time that happened, the entire room would burst into cheers and applause. However, when the patrons saw the nun enter, the lively atmosphere came to a sudden halt. The room went completely silent as everyone stared at her in surprise. Unfazed, the nun walked up to the bartender and politely asked, "May I please use the restroom?" The bartender looked at her for a moment before responding, "Of course, but I should warn you that there's a statue of a naked man inside the restroom, wearing only a fig leaf." The nun considered this for a moment and then replied, "Well, in that case, I'll just look the other way while I'm in there." Accepting her response, the bartender led the nun to the back of the restaurant and showed her the restroom. After a few minutes, the nun emerged, and the entire establishment came to a brief standstill, giving her a loud and enthusiastic round of applause. Confused, the nun approached the bartender and asked, "Sir, I don't understand. Why did they applaud for me simply because I used the restroom?" With a grin, the bartender replied, "Well, now they know you're one of us. Would you like a drink?" "No, thank you," the nun responded, still puzzled. "But I still don't understand." The bartender chuckled and explained, "You see, every time someone lifts the fig leaf on that statue in the restroom, the lights in the entire place go out. Now, how about that drink?" A man, eager to lose some weight, calls a company and orders their 5-day, 5 pounds weight loss program. The next day, there's a knock on his door, and to his surprise, there stands a gorgeous, athletic 19-year-old woman dressed in nothing but a pair of Nike running shoes and a sign around her neck. She introduces herself as a representative of the weight loss company and informs him that she will be his personal trainer for the duration of the program. The sign reads, "If you can catch me, you can have me." Without a second thought, he takes off after her, chasing her through the neighborhood. After a few miles, panting and exhausted, he finally gives up. This same routine continues for the next 4 days, with the man getting closer to catching her each time. On the 5th day, he weighs himself and is thrilled to find he has indeed lost 5 pounds, just as promised. Excited by his progress, he calls the company and orders their 5-day to 10 pounds program. The next day, there's a knock at his door, and there stands the most stunning, captivating, and sexy woman he has ever seen in his life. She is wearing nothing but Reebok running shoes and a sign around her neck that reads, "If you catch me, you can have me." Feeling more determined than ever, he chases her through the streets, up hills, and down alleys. Despite her incredible fitness, he gets closer and closer each day. By the end of the program, he is delighted to find that he has lost another 10 pounds, just as promised. Feeling unstoppable, he decides to go all in and calls the company to order their most challenging program, the 7-day, 25 pounds weight loss plan. The representative on the phone warns him, "Are you sure? This is our most rigorous and demanding program." "Absolutely," he replies with confidence. "I haven't felt this good in years." The next day, there's a knock at his door. Expecting another beautiful woman, he opens it eagerly, only to find a massive, muscular man standing there wearing nothing but pink running shoes and a sign around his neck that reads, "If I catch you, you are mine." He lost 40 pounds that week.